Not all manufacturers can lay claim to bringing about a whole new type of car. Yet Volkswagen was arguably one of the first to develop the hot hatch. While the story might have started with the Golf GTI, the spirit is carried with even more affordable cars like this Polo GTI. Does it still embody the key hot hatch characteristics of everyday livability, affordability, and a raggedy edge driving character? Let's go for a drive and find out. The Volkswagen Polo GTI has been a mainstay in Volkswagen's local lineup for several years, and the brand has just breathed new life into the model as part of the Polo range refresh earlier in 2022. That's impressive considering some rivals like the Ford Fiesta ST have exited the Australian market altogether. However, the affordability factor has taken a blow. This car is nearly $6,000 more expensive than its predecessor. At $38,750 retail, this Polo GTI now nips at the heels of bigger, more powerful alternatives such as the Hyundai i30N. The facelift brought about changes including this new restyled front end with a full-width integrated light strip, wider taillights at the rear, and these new 18-inch alloy wheels with Continental tyres. You'll have to forgive some of the grubbiness, I'm sorry, because this car has been on a week-long test in Melbourne after all. Inside the cabin, the Polo GTI now scores a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster, which joins items such as tartan cloth sports seats, a sports steering wheel, alloy pedals, wireless smartphone mirroring, and a drive mode selector. Carried over is the same 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine as its predecessor, and it outputs an identical 147 kilowatts and 320 newton meters to the front wheels. This car's predecessor didn't offer the choice of a manual gearbox, and this car is no different. It's a 6-speed dual clutch transmission only. Jumping into the cabin, it's still very obviously a light hatchback. Granted, I'm 195 centimeters tall, but there's not a lot of room to move about, and you do feel as though you sat shoulder to shoulder with your front seat passenger. Just as well, the seats are very comfortable and supportive with good bolstering and a lofty driving position. The seats aren't as tight as something like the Fiesta ST's Recaro units, but they do enough to hold you in through a string of cornering. Storage space isn't a highlight, but you do get a wireless phone charger down here, a pair of cup holders in the center, and a tiny center console bin. The infotainment system is super easy to use and not at all daunting. There could have been more shortcuts along the side here, but these icons on the screen do make it easy to navigate between functions, and you do have wireless Apple CarPlay here for those who prefer it. Inside the cluster ahead, you can configure the screen to show things like a full-screen map display, or you can alter the way the car shows information such as engine speed or fuel consumption data. Materials use throughout the cabin is decent, especially on all the touch points. You've got a leather steering wheel here, a leather handbrake, and metallic finishes to the door handles. The experience does start to sour when you consider this center console, which is scratchy plastic, and on the door card tops. I'll now begrudgingly sit in the back seat to show you what the experience is like. Well, in the back seat here, there is not a whole lot to get excited about. You don't have air vents in the back here, but you do get dual USB-Cs, map pockets, and bottle holders in the doors. It has grown closer to the Golf in terms of size, but it is still pretty cramped. I wouldn't want to be here longer than necessary. You press this new Volkswagen logo to gain access to the 305-litre boot. That's not horrible by hatchback standards, but curiously, it is less than the other variants in the range, such as a Polo style. Under the boot floor here, you do get a space saver spare. Anyway, let's go for a drive. With relatively meek sounding 147 kilowatt and 320 newton meter outputs on paper, this GTI really does feel more than the sum of its parts from the seat of the pants. Bolstered by a gruff and meaty sounding exhaust, the Polo GTI's engine, it gathers torque pretty quickly at low revs and pulls strongly right up to the red line. The shift experience at the top is extremely quick, and that's sort of what you expect from Volkswagen GFG. However, it's not the smoothest gearbox around town. There's a noticeable shunt when coming on and off the throttle in the lower gears, which does really annoy the passengers that you've got next to you. On the plus side, it doesn't exhibit those same telltale DSG signs like that hesitation and rollback which we've come to expect from DSG. It's really become a better product. There are a series of drive modes to choose from, but VW hasn't gone crazy. There are only 4 to choose from, including an individual mode where you can set your own parameters. Sport sharpens up the throttle response, the steering, and suspension, while the auto gearbox holds on to ratios longer. The ride quality errs on firm even without being in sport mode, where you do feel all those road impacts translated through to the cabin. But it's not to the extent that you're left uncomfortable, and it doesn't have that same hard-edge ride quality that you do get from some of the hot hatch rivals. The steering is also firm and weighty in sport mode, which makes rounding bends accurate and feelsome. For such a pogo-y, tall and narrow body that the Polo has, it stays remarkably flat when changing direction suddenly. I've got it in sport mode right now and it feels genuinely fun to wrangle around a set of corners. Its lightweight and agile nature makes it really fun on a quiet back road, and even just the unassuming exhaust character makes it really entertaining and a laugh in my book. The brake feel is grabby, which is annoying in day-to-day driving. You really have to be gentle with your pedal inputs to ensure a smooth driving experience. I wish the brake pedal was a bit more progressive in how hard it clamps down on the calipers. They do pull up the car with impressive ability though. Our car is running 8 litres per 100 kilometres fuel consumption against VW's own claim of 6.5 litres per 100. That's not too far off the claim, but it is more money that you'll have to spend on 95 octane fuel. Though it's taken a blow in the affordability stakes, the Polo GTI soldiers on as one of the premier hot hatches you can buy in Australia. It's not as fast or as serious as its Golf GTI bigger brother, but I'd argue that's inherently part of its charm. It's really well equipped, feels nice enough inside for the most part, and is a bundle of fun to drive. Though its range of rivals feels as though it's shrinking at a fast rate, the Polo GTI is the all-rounder hot hatch you'd be choosing anyway. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Drive YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of our uploads. Be sure to hit that bell icon too to get notified every time we upload. If you want to know more about the 2022 Volkswagen Polo GTI, be sure to read the full review on Drive.com.au.